Hello there, guys. Welcome back. I think we're gonna be doing the last part of the rendering here, but I just have a bit of a technical issue with the rendering because I had installed RenderMan 23.2. I think in the university we had a 22.6. I think it should be similar. For some reason, something didn't work here, so I found a workaround for that. But so I'm gonna share this with you guys. But anyway, I will be in Discord. If anybody need any help, something just let me know. Send me an email, and I will make sure that I can. I will set a time for you so I can have some feedback with you, so one-to-one. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna first of all I'm just gonna give you a render and see what we have at the moment. You should have something like this, which is the geometry as it is, and I did the smoothing of this on render time. Just remember that I told you if you want to make things nice and smooth, you have to press number 3 in the viewport and then it will render smooth. But if you have a lot of geometry and you want to do that, you might not be able to do it because you will probably run out of memory in the viewport and then you won't be able to render it. But if you want to do that on rendering time, what you have to do is, I'm going to cancel this, is for any geometry. We didn't do it for this because I mean, if we press number 3 on this, it will go all smoosh because there's not enough loops on the edges to support the shape. So what I did for this one, well, I selected this one. You go into the whatever name of the geometry is, go into the mesh section, not in the transform, not in the mesh. And then here on the subdivision surface, which is inside the RenderMan section, you should have a section here called geometry, or geometry, sorry, it will be subdivision surface. It should be none, then you just put in cut move wrong and it automatically will smooth things out. It's the same with it, you see I put it there. So once you have that, then we need to actually render this, but before we do that we need to break down the images. So I think I spoke to you in the last video saying that if you wanted to have the shadows, I told you to put in a separate AOV, which means that when it renders two pretty much entries. You can see it here. You will have one that is original and this one which is the holdout, which is just a shadow in here. Okay, so I think we could go with something like that, so you can have a little bit more control over this. Okay, I think that's the way to do it. I think because this one here has a alpha. Yeah, let me try the alpha here. Yeah, the alpha as it is, but then this one will have the actual thing here that we can, the shadow, we can then use it as a mask to color correct him in DaVinci Fusion Resolve. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just show the geometry here. So this is what we have at the moment. So now if we look at this piece of geometry, we need to break down the things into individual components. We need to break down things into the diffuse part, the color, the refractions. In this case, I put this one that has refraction, which is the whiskey preset. The reflections, the direct reflections, the indirect reflections, and the indirect diffuse. So in order to do that, you need to create those individual entries inside the actual render process. So what you have to do is here, in the RenderMan section, you should be on the AOB one. So you should have here the beauty path, which is the one that comes out here as beauty, okay, which is just pretty much color and alpha, which is here, you know, color and alpha. Then from here, there is a list of the available arbitrary output variable that we can use. And I think the first we need to do is we need to do the albedo. So we double click on this, you see it's added there. We have albedo is just color. And then we have the direct diffuse. You double click here, use that direct diffuse. Then we need the direct specular. Okay. Then we need the indirect diffuse. Double click. Then we need the indirect reflection. So that will be a specular in this case. Indirect specular, what is this? Quite easy, difficult to read here. So indirect diffuse, indirect specular. There you go. So those three, pretty much all those. But we remember we have an extra AOB which is just for the shadows, and pretty much that's what we need. But we're gonna have to. That will depend on the scene, because if you have something that has a surface scattering like wax or something like that, then you have to put a transmissive extra one here, but we don't have that. I don't think I'd recommend you guys not to use that because it's more difficult. Mostly you're gonna have things that are either dielectric, reflective, or metallic, or just diffuse. What we have to do in order to do the last one, which is, in this case, I put an example, this one is glass, so glass is transmissive or refractive. It's called transmissive here inside RenderMan. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a section here. We're going to add what is it called? That will be not up. Sorry, that will be in transmissive glass. Or you got single scatter if you go successive scatter, or glass. You double click on this, and then you will have the transmissive glass, because in this case we know that we have glass. So we close this, and we hit render. Okay. And now you will pretty much be the same, but this time, okay, when you open this, you can see that there's loads of individual elements within that render. So you go the albedo, which is just the color that we talked about. Remember, there's not going to be any color in this because this is only a transmissive material. This is transmissive, and the one in here is a metal material. So you go here, color, direct diffuse, which is just the color, direct specular, which is the reflections from the light, indirect diffuse, which is the color bouncing off itself or bouncing off from the floor. In this case, this stuff is bouncing off from the floor and coming back here. You remember when we put the color in the actual table? This is the color bouncing back. You got indirect specular, which is the reflection, not with the light, but individually reflecting each other. So this guy is the indirect reflection, will be the actual floor, the actual table. And here the table bouncing back as well, here and here. And then here transmissive, because it's only getting the glass out. And here the one that I told you, which is the holdout, which is the shadows. So pretty much by having all this, you have all the elements that you need to in order to render. Okay. So you will have the beauty path here, which is all together. Okay. And you still can go and then press G, and then you will see that this is the alpha. Okay. And this is the color. So you go color, you got the red channel, the green channel, the blue channel, and the actual alpha. Once we have this, even though the image appears with this background here, it will not appear, because it will only appear wherever is this white sort of black and white image. So whatever is gonna in white is gonna appear, whatever is black is gonna be deleted. So we have these now. These artifacts here, they can get rid of by increasing the samples. So what you can do in order to fix that, you just cancel this. You go here into the render settings here. Let's cancel that. Is it canceling? Yeah. You go here into the render settings, and in the render settings, go back to sampling. You can click here and set put it to high quality. Okay, and that will get rid of that. And the other thing you can do as well, I think pretty much with that one will do. Obviously, it will take longer to render, because if you click here, you put high quality. You see it put everything to 2048 when the default is 128. So it will take longer. I mean, the reason you see the image keep passing and passing and passing is because this button is checked, it's incremental. So if you uncheck this and you hit render, you will see the image as a final as it is here in the render. You see, this is the image, you see. There's not that noisy effect you see before that we had before. Yeah, look, that was before, you see how noisy it is, but here it will be automatically clean as it is. So that is just to render it like that, but just gonna cancel it. You see, it's gonna take quite a long time, but it's because it's a single image. You shouldn't be worried. I mean, we can optimize this more if we wanted to render a whole animation, but for now it's okay. It's only a single image, or two images for you guys for your submission. So so we have yeah. So if you want, you can just click here and then just increase this, and then you will have a final render. So once you have that, okay. So if you go back here to AOV, you can see that you're going to be exporting a beauty pass, which has color in this, and you will have these individual passes. Okay, these individual passes are the ones you're going to be able to reconstruct inside, and you have a little bit of control of individual things if you want to. But let's see. For now, the beauty pass will be okay. If you want to do that, then we can have a little bit of control over that, and then control some of the other aspects of the compositing. But let's see, with the beauty we can do most of the heavy lifting. Okay, so once you have that and you want to render, all you have to do is theoretically, and I work until the last version. I don't know why my computer doesn't want to work this version. is you could essentially just go into RenderMan, and then here hit batch render, and this hits OK, and then something will pop up here saying, hey, this is the job, and then start pretty much rendering the whole thing. So that should be doing it, but for some reason it doesn't want to do it. I don't understand why. I left it there running and it doesn't do it. I left it running for a while, it doesn't do it. So you have two ways to do it. You're going to do it either through here, and if that doesn't work, then you will have to do it through the batch rendering on Maya built-in, which you find if you find the rendering tab here. This, I mean, you probably will be in modeling. If you go here into rendering, then you will have the render option, and then you hit batch render. Once you do that, go back, have a coffee, come back, and then your images should be ready. So what you do is it will everything. If you have the project set up properly, guys, very important. You should save it in here into the compositing images, and it will create a folder for the specific version of the render you have. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the render, and then when we come back, the next I'm gonna show you the images. But this is gonna take some time, so not long, probably about 10 minutes. 5-10 minutes. So you can see here that here we will have in this section the images rendered. But remember, you need to have the project set up properly. If you don't, you will, I don't know where the images will put, depending. Most likely it will be in default in Maya. So you need to set up the project properly. Okay. So yeah. So I'm gonna go back here, and then I'm just gonna hit the batch render. So you can see here render, and then you go here batch render. So some reason it says save. For some reason you will not see it's rendering with RenderMan, but you cannot see what's going on. So I normally know that it's working because I go into the task manager and I can see in the task manager the batch render here is working. Okay, and you can see the computer is getting heavy and heavy. The fan's gonna go switch on so they can, you know, that it's rendering. So, and then here you should see a new folder you see with, and then here that's where you should have all the images. So I'm gonna stop this now, and then I'll come back with the last bit when this is all over in the next part, okay? And I'll show you the images in perhaps Photoshop. And then from there, we're just gonna go into Resolve, and then we're gonna start putting it together. Then that will be the last part where you can do all the tweaking, color correction, and all that. Okay. All right, that's it for now, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next part. Thank you. Bye bye.